treat others the way that we want to be treated. That's a golden rule. I'm going to invite everyone here to go the next step. Change that to the platinum rule. Treat others the way that they want to be treated.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people do that. That's how reputations get made. That's all we're talking about. Reputation is an imprint on our heart and our head. It doesn't actually exist. It's actually changing someone's perception.
Yeah. And I think it's such a personal undertaking when you build and renovate a home, particularly your long-term family home, that you want to like the person. It's not just the case that you want to find somebody who you can, who ticks all the boxes in terms of the logical process you're going through and the checks that you need to make and the intellectual kind of decision making around choosing a builder. But there's so much emotion tied up in it that emotion translates to, is this person actually really a kind person? Are they, do they share similar values? Do they, take care of their team? Do they run a business in a way that is the kind of business I like to do business with? And particularly in this day and age where people are understanding their spending power in terms of shaping the world around them, they want to spend money with people who run businesses and have a reputation that is in alignment with their own personal values and the way that they kind of like to operate their life. And if builders are hiding what their reputation is, or they're dressing it up in a whole heap of words that have no meaning to them or authenticity, then it's very difficult to cut through and create that emotional connection, which has so much more leverage in the relationship and the securing of work and those kinds of things.
So true. And the two things, I love the point that you just made about, I call it homogenized words. And so I'm not sure what's on the websites of all of our incredible professionals out there, but I'm sure there's one or two who are building someone's dream home, that's the homogenized version of what we think everyone out there wants to know. What I want to know is what differentiates you. How do I choose you and forget about all the rest? And that sits in the problem you solve for me. So what problem do you solve? And it's got to be more niche, or it's got to be more granular than just building and renovating. And it sits in our DNA as builders. Not that I'm a builder, but your DNA as builders, it sits in there. Everyone's got a different story. Everyone's got a different way of coming in. Everyone's got a different set of talents and skills. Everyone's got something that they master in, and everyone's got a difference. So not everyone's the same. And unfortunately, again, 97.9% of anyone in an industry will stay that homogenous safety zone, where those outliers will go, hey, I do build and I do renovate. However, this is how I do it. And that's the difference. And I love that because it gives you your own story. You own your reputation. If you don't take ownership of your reputation and drive the words that you want other people to pass on in word of mouth, then other people will make up theirs. If in a lifetime you got 1,000 clients or customers, you got 1,000 different stories out there. Or you can have one. You can show up that way. You can deliver your words that way. You can be that person. And that's how you get your reputation.
It's so key, isn't it? Because, we've been doing research before this session just around the stats around word of mouth marketing. They're extraordinary, some of them. And they're, 92% of people trust, recommendations from family and friends. 88% of people look at online reviews as a trustworthy source, which is incredible because our builder members will know that there's operators out there who fabricate a lot of their online reviews, but that stat still exists. So there was another really one that I saw, that brands that create an emotional connection are 3 times more likely to generate word of mouth referrals than brands that don't. All of these things. And it's like you say, if, with word of mouth marketing being such a strong proponent in the world of securing work in any kind of industry, if you're not controlling that narrative, if you're not actually giving people the words and the way to talk about your business to others, then it's very difficult to control the messaging that goes out into the world about you. And so I know this through Undercover Architect, and I've seen this obviously in, you can see some big brands, and there's, very clear directives about how they want you to talk about their business, but then they're also living it in all of their operations and the way that they present themselves and those kinds of things. So, and it's interesting to see how, I remember first at Undercover Architect trying to work out, well, what do I do differently? I don't know what I do differently. And I'm sure our builder members will go, well, I build and renovate houses. Like there's 40 other builders in my, 5K radius that do exactly the same thing. But it's interesting when you start to have conversations. I got feedback that, well, one of the things that people really loved was just how honest and upfront I am with them about things. And I'd always taken that.
An architect, honest and upfront.
I'd always been really worried and nervous about that, but it was actually really appreciated by the people I most loved working with. And so it's this thing of how do you go from that being recognized to just then fully owning it and going, yep, okay, this is the way I do business, because then I attract the people who love this and want to work with me in this way. And so it's so powerful because you get to be who you want to be, who you love being, who you enjoy being. And you get to work with people who become like friends because they see the world like you do. So,
and I love that, because it's not what you do. We all know that you can build and renovate. Everything says that. It's not, we don't want to know more about. We don't want to know more about the reasons why. Not the reasons why, but more about your building and renovating. We want to know about your warmth and trustability. So it's warmth and competence. Actually, we're not going to be measuring you on your competence. That's a given. We'll get some credentials. We'll get, are they competent? Do they do a good job? Yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful outcome. What would they like to work with? So, people who are competent in your field and other fields, it's like, yeah, I can rely on them. They're going to get the job done. But do you want to go and have lunch with them or coffee? Do you want to show up and see them every day? No, you would rather stab your eye with a fork.
Exactly.
And the other side, right? You could have a great bloke as a builder. And that's that over warmth. And you don't want to criticize him because he's such a good bloke, but can he get the job done? That competence, that's a reputation as well. We need to balance those out. So if we're just showing exactly on our website, our competence, Gold Star Builder, and everything about what we have done, delivered, won, rather than what you get, what we deliver, what, all of the benefits for them, and that trustworthy humanness, a bit of a human story. You're absolutely right. We're just going to go with a human story, that one time out of 40.
Yep. That's fantastic. Well, can you perhaps give us some tools and some tactics that that our builder members can start to sort of maybe do a little bit of self-analysis about what reputation actually means, how they could start to identify it in themselves, and take us through some of the, I know that you've got some fantastic exercises for our builder members to do, and and just give us some insights into how they can start framing this in their head, because I'm sure that they've already got, the wheels are already turning about how, what it is that's special about them and how they might be able to differentiate themselves.
Perfect. And again, in wanting to under-engineer, this the first question I get asked when we're repositioning a brand or a person's brand, or their personal brand or their reputation, is where do I start? So we've got that covered, and I've got a few things there. And the other one is, where does this go? Once I work out, what the reputation is, where does it go? Now, working out, if we're not clear about our reputation, what we stand for, or how we do things, we can't ever hope that anyone externally and our homeowner partners could ever get clear. So if we're not clear, they're not clear. It doesn't have to be plastered all over the place, but you just need to be able to be aware of it so you show up all the time. And so I've got an exercise which is called a reputation map. So it's really simple. We get to do a little bit of fun. So I'm going to take you through some of these really simple exercises, how I get started with just four simple questions. We'll plot those out, where that goes on a map, and that opens out an understanding of, right, this is what I do differently. And it's all from what we were talking about, the platinum rule, not the golden rule, not what we want people to know, but what do our clients need? What have we asked them? What do we know of all the clients that have been before us, and how do we translate that? And so people go, oh yeah, that's for me. I didn't even know that was my problem. So we'll dive into how do we start, and where the Does it go? How's that?
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
All right.